Hello, everybody. Welcome to the TechRaptor podcast. I'm Robert Scrappy and Otton, your features editor.
Andrew Otton, editor-in-chief.
College Doggett, site founder.
Andrew Stretch, the boomerang editor.
Oh, it's coming back again.
Yeah. Best way for a boomerang to work. Otherwise, I'd just be the stick editor.
Do you know how to throw a boomerang, Stretch? They teach you that in like elementary school there, right? That's like his class.
Yeah, well,
That's like kindergarten. They start you real
to
early.
get to school, you need to get your ride, and instead of like flagging a taxi, you just boomerang a kangaroo, and then you hop in the mucus patch, and then you ride to school.
Mm.
You've just confirmed everything I thought about Australia.
Yeah, see, I always thought the boomerang came back to you naturally, but now it's a kangaroo who delivers it back to you. Is that my understanding now?
Well, you have to throw it in such a way that it spins off their neck and then comes back to you.
It's like horseshoes, but there's a catching element to it.
Yeah. Right. God, could you imagine if a horseshoe came back to you?
Ruin your day.
Yeah. You'd be dodging
horseshoes a lot more dangerous.
Mm-hmm. This week, we're going to talk about the PSVR2. It is finally out, and it is in some of our hands. We're also going to talk about Atomic Hearts, because that's a game that is out there that you can play. But first, let's dive a bit into the state of play that Sony showed off last week, because there's a few interesting things that I think we want to highlight. One thing that really stood out to me is that Baldur's Gate, a historically PC-focused video game, announced its release date by also confirming it's having a PS5 release at a Sony State of Play event. So Baldur's Gate 3 will hit 1.0 on August 31, and it's also coming to Xbox at some point.
At some point.
Someday.
I think that the developer's exact words were, "We're not playing that exclusivity game."
Yeah, because it's apparently they're having some trouble getting the game to work on the Series S in a way that they feel is, launch worthy.
Specifically for split screen, right?
Yeah, split screen is the problem, I think they said.
Mm-hmm. Which makes sense, because that's the part that usually, like, I played Baldur's Gate, Divinity Original Sin on console, and when you split screen, that's usually when you're most likely to tank your performance.
Yeah.
So totally understandable.
Normally when I go split screen, I support or DPS.
I get that.
It is interesting. I think it's the first time a big game was talked about the Series S being a bit of a problem for development. Because I know Microsoft says like you have to have both ready to go. You can't just pick and choose. But we're not going to come to Series S. So like, no, you gotta it's got to be and meet the standards there also.
Right.
So,
whereas you don't really have that problem with PS5, because there's only the disc version and the no disc version. Right. Both have the same horsepower. So
that's right.
Yeah. I mean, and even then, we keep hearing rumors that there's going to be some exterior disc option that will come at some point in the future that will let you turn your digital into a disc version. Yeah, I mean, we've definitely been seeing with game releases. I know that not Far Cry. What's the big explosion? Just Cause. I know people had some big issues with Just Cause on the Series S, and it makes sense in split screen, which is, from my understanding of how split screen works in video games, it's not like you just like have the multiple cameras. You're like re-rendering everything twice. So it makes sense that something that you might just think simply as of, oh, well, it's just a second camera. It's like there's a lot that goes on there.
Yeah, you're kind of almost running two instances of the game within a game, kind of.
Yeah, and that's also why we see people talking about how intensive ray tracing is, because of like the way that's also like technically like rendering things again.
Yeah, but
it's for such a small feature that you would take for granted. It's crazy how much overhead adding a functional split screen is to a game.
You're telling me there's not just an add split screen button?
Yeah, it's right.
That's just how it works, right?
Yeah,
it's right next to the fix bugs toggle that they just sometimes forget to hit before they hit ship.
right? Because game dev is so easy; anyone can do it.
Truly.
Yeah, I do find it kind of funny that they need to come out and say that they're not playing the exclusivity game, because I feel like that's kind of like a barometer of just how some people can be about their game purchases, where they're like Xbox better, PlayStation better. Like they need to come out and say this just to assuage anything, which feels so silly.
Well, and they probably also don't want to be a part of the whole, Xbox Sony legal fight at the moment.
Don't use
Just
us as evidence in your court case.
Yeah, we're coming to everything.
Not that game. Leave us alone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. The real question is, when is the Switch version coming?
Yeah. I need split screen on that.
Oh God.
I mean, it is kind of like I get the idea of you want to release the exact same game that you have on Series S versus Series X, but this will have to be something that Microsoft does address if we're going to expect this generation to continue for 6-7 years.
Yeah,
there will have to be a point that they say, okay, fine, there can be some stuff like that is not just graphics and RTX. There will have to be some things that you are allowed to say does not exist on the Series S version of the game. Because also, if people really want that, that could also be a valid push for Microsoft to be like, well, if you buy the disc and put the disc in, then you can stream it, the X version, from GamePod. From Game Cloud, game streaming.
Yeah. That's what I would say. Will this S just become all right? Well, we'll just let you stream them then. Use the xCloud stuff.
Right. I think it also brings up the question of like how much does it not work on the S? You know what I mean? Like, are we just talking we go down to 20 FPS, or does it just like crash the game? I feel like there's got to be a certain threshold at some point where Microsoft has to maybe think, are we okay with this bad of a performance on the S versus the X?
In Larian's comment, they stated that they have a working version, but it's just that the performance isn't where they want it to be. So I think that it's more of like things get choppy. The graphics get hazy, but like playable. But whether that's playable in-house playable or playable, we want to put this out in the consumer's hands.
Product we want you to purchase.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe just want to cyberpunk it.
I'm sure that they have specific targets they must meet to come on there.
For sure. But I mean, as someone who has been looking forward to this since I caught the Divinity Original Sin, like addiction, I guess. Baldur's Gate 3 hitting 1.0 for August 31 is very exciting. Yeah. It's kind of funny that they gave us the release window at first, right, which is August, and now it's like the very last day of August.
We're sticking to August. We're sticking to it.
Yeah, just the very last day. Coming out at 11:59 p.m.
Should be great. It's one of those games where I've kind of avoided all the like betas and like class stuff that you could do. So I just want to play it. I don't want to like do it in chunks.
Yeah, I played the early access when it first came out just to get like a feel for it, but then I told myself I'm not going to play anymore because like I'm going to replay this stuff anyway, but like probably better, in 1.0. Yeah.
I've never played a Baldur's Gate game before. That this is one that I'm looking forward to picking up, maybe even seeing, like, I'm a big D&D player, and I've played some of like the D&D video games, but I always find it harder to get into when it's a video game, that it just doesn't have that level of freedom. You've got like the pre-written things that your characters can say versus everything but I'm hoping with good multiplayer that might be something that I'm able to like maybe see if my wife is interested in playing as well, because she's also an avid D&D player.
Yeah. Like, I think based on my time in the early access, like a very first one. So this is like what, a year and a half old impressions. I mean, I doubt you're going to get the same freedom in terms of story as you can with tabletop, because in tabletop you can literally just say like, okay, I'm about to fight the big bad. The DM just did their monologue, and I'm just going to say, hey, I'm going to retire and be a farmer, actually. Bye. You can do whatever you want, right? I doubt you can do that in this game, but in terms of the combat, I do think the combat is going to give you what you're looking for, because it accounts for like move action versus attack action. There's like shoving, there's jumping. You can like shove your teammates to a better position so that way they can like execute better, that sort of stuff. It's not grid based, it is still like free form. So like I think movement is based on action points, which translates to like feet, like how many feet you can move. But I think for the combat, at least, it's going to deliver what you're looking for.
Yeah, cool. I think speaking of like the freeformness and stuff, for non-major characters, like I understand you've got to have like a main overarching plot line that is consistent, but for like smaller side quests and stuff, I reckon a game like Baldur's Gate might actually be a good use of like AI chat. Is that wrong to say?
No,
Get the fuck out of here
I could see that
right now. You need to leave.
I mean,
Well,
hey, imagine
thanks
if,
for having me on.
if Preston Garvey from Fallout 4 was an AI chatbot. I feel like that would make him more interesting.
Yeah, just instead of, well, there's another settlement, it was just like, oh man, we've been having a fucking week.
It just give him more flavor, and I could see that. I mean, I feel like small side quest stuff using AI for it could be neat.
Yeah, like I definitely would prefer the crafted major plot line. But yeah, like instead of getting a go hunt 5 wild boar in this regular ass dungeon or something, if that could be, a bandit, and bandit has their own goals, and you can actually convince the bandit to join your candy corn empire, because that's what you plan to do, and you can fall in love
with the robot. But yeah, I think I'm curious to see if they will be able to get Series S to work, because if they don't, does that just mean the Series X version also doesn't come out and we're just kind of sitting there with like Xbox people can just not play the game?
I didn't get the vibe that it was that dire. It was just like, we got some shit to figure out.
Fair. Yeah. So we'll see. August 31, Baldur's Gate 3 comes out, confirmed at a Sony event, but that, hey, works for me.
That's always one of my most fun things about these specific console events, or even stuff like the PC gaming show. So they'll have the big flashy trailer. They'll show the end slate with like the website and the release window and just like the single company logo down the bottom. And then it's like playing whack-a-mole for the next 30 minutes of like, okay, press releases come out, what's actually exclusive, what's non-exclusive, what's timed exclusive, and just kind of getting a read for that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this one just hits me weird in a way, because like Baldur's Gate just feels like such a PC release. Like it'd be like if they revealed the next Civilization game at this PlayStation event. Like that would feel really weird, Like,
You're telling me you don't play Civ with a controller?
You can. You sure as hell can.
Got like an Atari joystick, single joystick and a button. Go for it.
That's kind of all you need. That's what a mouse is, basically.
It's true. Joystick and a button.
Yeah. The other big thing from the state of play, because they dedicated a third of it to this, is Rocksteady's Suicide Squad, which we've known about for a while. Information on it has been kind of, here or there for a good while, but this is the first time we're getting just, a full dedicated, thing to it. We're seeing some gameplay, some cutscenes, some story. How's everyone feeling about this battle pass, gear score, live service game, games of the service? People feeling good?
I was questioning a little bit why they just kept showing Crackdown 3 gameplay. And then I realized that it was Harley Quinn.
Saints Row 3 is what we were saying. Saints Row. It was Saints Row gameplay.
Saints Row 4.
The remaster, right?
Yeah.
Saints Row 4 mixed with Crackdown 3.
Yes.
Starring Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to be excited about this one, huh? Just after all these years of live service games.
Yeah, it's got a lot of Marvel's Avengers stink all over it. For fair or not, It does.
For those who want a superhero live service game, that's really great that right as Avengers is shuttering down its service, that they can just hop right over to Suicide Squad. And it's great that the company has planned all of Rocksteady has been like, yeah, we're gonna have extra missions and new characters and that will be released post-launch after you've had a chance to play the full game. And I'm just worried that they're tying themselves into some large plan, and what agreements may be in place where they have a game that underperforms and undersells, and then they've just got to keep supporting it.
Yeah. I think what hits me a little weird with it is like, I agree, the idea that like, yes, Avengers is ending and now Suicide Squad is picking up that torch for better or worse. But at least with Avengers, like, Tony Stark didn't use an assault rifle.
He was still, yes. You didn't have the Iron Man with a gun.
Yeah, he was doing Iron Man things like consistently. His basic attacks were still like shooting the laser beam, right? Captain America
just throws Mjolnir away and grabs an AR-15 and
like, fuck this hammer. I don't need this.
With a flaming skin on it, of course.
Exactly.
Right. And like, I get that the Suicide Squad heroes or anti-heroes aren't as super powered and super juiced as like the Hulk and Iron Man and Captain America and Thor, but like there's something that does feel kind of weirdly soulless about like, no matter who you play, you have to give a shit about your guns, and all the guns can be unique, but they're all the same kind of too. Like every assault rifle is going to be an assault rifle, just this one has a bigger number, so it does more damage. Have fun.
Did you catch the scale of those numbers as well? It wasn't like, well, I've got my assault rifle that is a 10 power and it's going to go to an 11. But they're like, oh, this gun's range is 7,800 to 8,400. And it's like, what? Why is the math so large? What is going on?
Yeah, it's probably just big numbers for the sake of big numbers.
Why is Captain Boomerang not using boomerangs? What the fuck?
He does to pour around.
He does, but his like they give him an assault rifle as his main weapon.
That's what he's saying.
Yeah. Like Harley Quinn's whole thing is like the bat, and instead it's like fuck the bat. Well, yeah. But it's just heartless.
No, she did that in one of the movies.
But it's so weird.
There's a really great way to have like Hulk and a King Shark analog, to have the boomerangs have a higher damage output but a similar rate of fire to maybe a semi-auto pistol, to have Harley with hammer, her hammer or bat a la Thor kind of thing. Captain Boomerang has a Speed Force gauntlet for some reason.
Yeah. And like he only uses it to teleport.
Yeah. We were joking when we were watching it, how Harley seemed to just be swinging like Spider-Man wherever she was. And it's just because she has a drone that's constantly above her.
I was watching. I made the comment. I was like, "What the fuck is she swinging off of?" And Christian's like, "Just don't think about it." And then he made a comment. There's a drone up there she connects to. And then they fucking showed the drone later. He didn't know that.
Oh, it's amazing.
It feels like
the movement is very weird. Like just watching that, I was like, "This
movement, Saints Row."
Well, it
just doesn't feel right.
Weirder than that, because I feel like there was like, I don't know, quadruple jumps going on here.
Yeah, it was very floaty.
Like
jumping left to right and up and down, and I'm like, what is?
Yeah, everyone is 20 stories above the buildings, chaining extra jumps and hovering there as they're shooting. It feels like they had the polygons all in place for the game, and they're like, well, the way that this polygon figure moves, we could probably like make Harley fit that. It's like they had the gameplay idea first, and then they put the skin over it all. There wasn't an idea of like, we're going to have a game with Harley Quinn and King Shark. How would they play? and build the game around the source.
You might be right.
I mean, it feels. Go ahead.
Well, I was just saying, because it's so opposite to what we know of Rocksteady to be, because the one of the bigger gaming journo fucking memes came out of the Arkham games, and that they make you feel like Batman. And that's what they did achieve, is they created that a great set of mechanics and gameplay design decisions that really fed into the fantasy of playing as Batman. And this doesn't feel like it's doing that for the characters that are in there. So at least from what they've shown, it's just like, I'm the quippy character that you know, and then I also have a gun. Like,
so the weird
it'd
thing
be
is
like giving Batman a gun in Arkham Asylum.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like what this is they nailed down what Deadshot can do, because it
just made like 4 versions of Deadshot.
Everyone feels like, it makes you feel like Deadshot is what I think the meme is going to be in this game, because
it's just the joke from just the joke from the Suicide Squad. It's like, no one can do anything like him. He can shoot well. He can do this. He can do that. Amazing. An assassin raised by his father to be an assassin. Next person, exact same description. You just said that I was one of a kind. He does the exact same fucking thing.
Yeah, it kind of is that, though. It seems like, because all the things we're talking about, they fit Deadshot perfectly. Like, we haven't even said his name until just now, right? Like, he uses a bunch of guns. He has a jetpack, so it makes sense that he can like kind of do a lot of quadruple jump type things and be floaty, right?
Yeah.
But then everyone else is like, well, let's just make them do that too, but without the jetpack. It's so weird.
I will be down if they put Peacemaker in this game, though. I'd play that.
I think that they would be. It's kind of wild that he's not already in it, with how much people like Peacemaker.
Yeah.
I mean, the real question is, will they add him as DLC?
They said there'd be DLC characters.
Yeah, or I guess not DLC, just a continuous updates.
That's right, continuous updates. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get it right.
Long-term support.
That's right. To our living service.
Yes. Yeah,
Went well for Avengers.
You want to play Avengers? Is what you're saying?
I said it went well for Avengers.
Avengers had a good campaign.
Advantage.
See, yeah, that's the thing I've heard about Avengers, is that it had an actually decent story. And that's
the campaign was fine.
Yeah, that's my worry with this, is like, the story stuff they were showing off, I was interested. I want to see where this goes.
Yeah, I want to kill fucking Superman.
Yeah, I do not want to grind for assault rifle plus 1100 to get.
Yeah, why are we Borderlandsing this, man?
Yeah,
it's loot.
Yeah, they had like the Borderlands talking point, like there's so many guns. They showed that reel of just like flipping through all the guns, and it's like, what? Why?
Don't care.
Yeah, I really
just want to beat people down.
Remember,
manage my inventory.
Rut will probably remember this. Remember when? And I think it's still somewhat part of WoW, but remember when Gear Score was like the thing, like that they would measure people by? That was 2008. So
that was Lich King, right?
Yeah, that's what, 2008, 2009. Like, we've been like a huge segment of the game population has been through this, and they all decided, yeah, that's fucking stupid. We did this a decade ago, 15 years ago,
and we're still doing it now.
Yeah,
and it worries me too that there's also going to be a battle pass, which is like, what is?
You get this gun skin. It's got,
or like this character skin,
something.
And a battle pass for maximum 4-player multiplayer. Whereas
always online game too,
but always online. And it's battle passes are good, I think, for something that you can kind of play continuously and it doesn't get repetitive. But it sounds like
that's what this is
going to
get
be. Real repetitive, real fast.
That's what they're selling you. That's what this is. It's not going to be repetitive. It's like Destiny. People are going to like to play it all the time, and the other MMO stuff.
And they said like each character, if you play them as the main character or whatever, has different story elements too. So it's like I have to play all of them over and over again to get
pad it out.
the
For every
entire
once in a while,
story.
you get to this scene, but you get it from this person's perspective,
right?
Or whatever.
That's what worries me too, is stuff getting locked behind having to level characters.
Well, it's that, and then also they want this to be the kind of game where you like play the same save file all over and over. You know what I mean? Like, no, I mean, you have to be really into WoW to have multiple accounts, right? But like, for the most part, you're gonna stick with one because you want to work on your guy.
I'd say no, that's not true at all.
No. Okay, Destiny. I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna say I had 3 characters that I rotated through raids.
I'd say it's pretty
Y'all-
common.
Y'all are a bunch of fucking nerds then. But
I'll say as
I'm
well,
not even
that,
gonna
like,
say how many days I had in WoW. So
I won't either.
it may just be that all of this equipment, like if there isn't a level for your character, if everything is based on what gear they have, it may be that after you get all of this high level gear with Harley, if you want to start playing as Deadshot, that you can just use like those guns on different characters. So there's a potential better way that they could speed up leveling. Like in Destiny, you can create a new character and then give a whole bunch of the non-class specific equipment to your next character, so that like just everything will go faster. But who knows if that's
I'd
even what they're
understand
wanting to
like
do.
shared loot. Like, and that's the reason why every character is a little similar, is that they decided to do shared loot because they know that you're going to have to level a bunch of characters potentially
yeah,
to
but I
see
mean,
the
like,
whole story.
even in like a game like Diablo, right? Like the monk isn't going to pick up a crossbow from the demon hunter and be like, yeah, I can use this. Right?
It's true.
Yeah.
It is true. Yeah.
So
I don't know. I'm with you.
yeah,
I mean, because they just Avengers had already done that too, because they had different gear. They couldn't swap.
right. Like Hulk can't equip Iron Man's gauntlets or whatever and shoot lasers all of a sudden.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we're being a little too unfair and a little too skeptical. So we didn't see all that much really. We're doing a lot of guesswork based on stuff that we saw. But I think we're probably fairly close.
It's just the track record of live service games the last couple of years has not been good, and I think a lot of us are just burnt out.
Well, and it's crazy.
Yeah.
I said this when we were reacted to the state of play the other day, and it's weird to me to have somebody like Rocksteady and then like Crystal Dynamics for Avengers, who are very well known for a certain kind of game, and then do not that at all.
Right.
Complete opposite of that.
And I can understand where you're coming from and that maybe we're being a little harsh and making some guesses, but I also think that it's just falling into that detriment of we've seen this game for years. We've seen it's a different skin, different characters or whatever, but we've seen this exact gameplay loop for years now.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to kind of guess at.
And it makes you wonder too how much this factors into just the extended time period it takes to make these kind of games, because they've been working on it forever.
Yeah.
Like maybe they were too far into it. Like, well, I guess we're committed now, even though we're chasing a trend that's kind of people are getting tired of.
Because like Arkham Knight was 2013, 15. Like their last
16.
it was around
like
that.
14, 15, something like that.
Yeah. So it's been since then that we've seen anything from Rocksteady. And now it's this.
Yep.
Yep.
Batman's dead. He's
Dead
not
and
dead.
buried.
You get to fight him. Joker's dead.
ED.
Yeah. Well, that's Suicide Squad still coming May 26th. If you're into gear score and all that stuff, this is the one for you, maybe.
The numbers go up game.
Yep. It comes out like 2 weeks before Diablo 4, which is like the quintessential numbers go up game.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
So
Yeah.
we'll see.
I don't know.
But if you want more of our thoughts on PlayStation State of Play, we have a video on our YouTube channel, us reacting to it live. You can go check it out. Link is in the description in the show notes of this podcast. But now let's move on to talk about some games. Rhett, you've been playing this game that I haven't heard of until you mentioned it, called Dredge.
Yeah, so this was one that they dropped during Steam Next Fest. That I played the demo and was immediately like, I need this game. And it's essentially a fishing game, to where you are a fisherman returning to or coming to a place to fill the role of the old fisherman. But there's kind of a twist in that when it gets dark, you don't want to be out fishing, but there's also like fish at night. And kind of this eldritch horror type vibe where there's something lurking in the darkness. There's a couple things that, like, if you're out there, that'll happen and kind of startle you a little bit, like giant ass fish monster coming up.
It's a new algorithm update from Google. Flushed out of water.
Too soon. Too soon.
An update for Hunt Showdown.
But at the same time, it's also very delightful in terms of just very chill. You're basically just going around and fishing, trying to get specific fish for people, or dredging for equipment to upgrade your ship. Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah.
I thought it was. I thought this was based on that character from that Color Urban movie.
Judge Dredge.
I guess it is if you mash the two words together, right? Dredge.
But yeah. I've played about 20 hours. I've almost 100%ed it. So it's not a super long game. I would say if you're just kind of playing through the story, 10, 12 hours maybe. I could be wrong, but there's some stuff I can't talk about, but there's basically kind of your core islands you start at. There's 4 each with like different types of fish you can catch, or crabs. You can drop like crab pots, stuff like that.
How do you catch fish?
It's basically a QTE, sort of, to where like you've got a circle and there's different variations depending on the type of fish, but you kind of have to like time hitting specific green spots. And there's also a twist in that like you can also catch like really fucked up fish. Like
fucked up in what way?
You go from having 2 eyes to the entire face is an eye, and like there's like essentially a Pokédex for fish, and you've got the normal versions, and then you've got the like mutated versions of them. So it's kind of fun to wander around.
Yeah, that seems like fun, and it's like so it's primarily fishing. Is there like
primarily fishing? There is a kind of main story you're following. I can't say much other than you're basically trying to find specific items for a collector, and you don't really know what they're for.
So does it sort of have like that Stardew Valley vibe where you're in this cozy little town and part of the game is also just talking to the villagers or whatever? Or is this primarily just like go fish, come back
basically
and like
go fish and kind of find things out in the environment? So there's like quests that are called pursuits, and you can kind of encounter like random people on tiny islands, help them with quests, and they'll give you like either better gear or like something that contributes to the story. And then there's kind of a ship upgrade system to where you can get new kinds of rods to catch new types of fish or faster engines, all that kind of stuff. And there's also some things out there that I haven't figured out yet. Like there's these rocks that sometimes you go over to them and it's just like it doesn't respond to your touch, and then there's other ones you go up to and it has like a riddle or something. So trying to figure like those types of things out. There's just lots of just small little things peppered in different places.
Is it
a treasure
like
map?
First person, third person, top down? What is it like? The art style?
Third person, you are in your boat the whole time.
Okay.
And so like talking to people in say Greater Marrow, which is like the starting town, you can talk to the lighthouse keeper, you can talk to the mayor, and then there's like place to sell your fish or buy equipment, upgrade boat, all that kind of stuff.
Nice.
And then there's books you can find and read that improve your ability to fish. The one thing that did take me by surprise as a completionist is that you can fail pursuits. And if you fail them, there's nothing you can do to get the items that were tied to it. So like, I don't know if I can talk about that one, but like you have like hull damage. So early on you go to this town and somebody's like, hey, my son died in a shipwreck or whatever. And you, on the opposite side of the island is a wreck that you can dredge. You pull up an item that belonged to him. I put it in the middle of my ship. Yeah. I put it in the middle of my ship, hit a rock, that spot took damage, and I lost the item. And that was the end of the quest.
No.
Woof.
Wow.
Yeah. So there's like, there's definitely like components to it. Like the darkness component, I think is really interesting in that it hits like 7 p.m., starts to get dark, and you have lights on the front of your ship. But those lights can only go so far. So there's been more than enough times that I'm just like yeeting my way through the darkness directly into a rock. And hull damage will, you can break your engines to where you're now going incredibly slow and puts you at even more of a chance to get taken out by whatever monsters in the darkness. So
interesting. Yeah, it
a
sounds
lot
like
of interesting components.
Yeah, it sounds like it's balancing like cozy with horror almost.
Yeah.
So when you lost that item, did you go back to mom and be like, I swear I had it?
You basically, well, yeah, you basically do. And he's like,
I'd be like, fuck that, I'm never talking to her again.
Yeah, and the dude just like, well, okay, and that's it. It's just like pursuit failed.
Rip.
I'm surprised that you just haven't been like save spamming.
You can't.
Oh,
you can't save? Well, or is it
it's
like the
automated.
auto saving?
So every time you go to a dock and dock, it saves the game. If you sleep at the dock, it saves your game. So like if you can kind of save scum.
You can
like
save scum that. Yeah, just
Just
I
don't go to
lost
the
that item.
Yeah. But there was one that I failed at that had a timing component to it, and I don't know when that timer expired. So even save scumming, I could not get it.
Yeah. So what happens if one of these horrors get to you? Is it just like fuck? I gotta run.
Yeah, pretty much. And there's there's a panic component as well. So if you're out in the darkness for too long, there's like an overwhelming sense of dread, and as your dread goes up. As you're like dread or they call it panic, as that goes up, you start to see more and more shit in the darkness, and then
that is
it starts getting more and more dangerous.
Love that.
Yeah, it's unique. And the story, I can't say much, but it's decent. Yeah, in terms of kind of like this progressive
for Cthulhu
thing. Yeah, it's worth the time, especially for, I don't know what the price point's going to be, but for a 10 to 12 hour, if you're just kind of going straight through, and 20 to 25ish if you want 100%. It's worth the time.
Oh yeah, well that's Dredge. It's on. I saw it's on Steam coming to PC. Does it have console releases too, or just PC for now?
I think it's just PC for now, but I could be wrong.
Fair.
Hey guys, next month.
Yeah, March 30th.
That's when it comes out. Yeah. So we got a month of lead time here.
Yeah. I'm probably gonna replay the whole thing again. So
Stretch, you've been playing Atomic Hearts.
The hot game of the season, Atomic Heart.
Did you say that it is a crispy critter?
As the dialogue is fucking wackadoo. Absolutely bananas. It's wild. It sets itself up in the start in, like, I mean, I know that there's been a lot of talk about whether it's like pro-Russia propaganda kind of stuff. The way that it opens on this like communist utopia, Russia is a superpower, pushes so heavily the same kind of vibes as the start of BioShock Infinite that it almost like it's a parody of itself. It's the same way that BioShock Infinite is like, yes, this is the perfect utopian, like the way that Comstock like ups it all, and you're like, oh, everyone here is fucking deranged. This is weird. And they really give you so little. I've played like the first 3-4 hours. I have no clue what's going on. I know that I am some kind of important person who is trying to find this doctor. I've got a glove that like has tentacles on it in my hand that let me do like the different abilities, powers. Start off with just like plasmids. Yeah, you get like the shock power at the very start of the game, and it works okay on the robots.
I hear he's also yelling at it a lot. He yells at his glove a lot.
Yeah, he does yell at his glove a lot. Yeah. There's a lot of weird dialogue. People calling each other crispy critters. A vending machine that tries to assault you.
Sexually
assault.
It's just a mimic.
Clarify.
Yeah.
A certain kind of mimic.
And it is very strange that like that was happening. And I was, I was chatting with people at the same time that I was playing. And I was kind of like, oh God, I've got to like, I need to upgrade my stuff, but I just don't want to upgrade my stuff because those like the dialogue is so fucking awkward. But like already 3 hours into the game, that has stopped, and now it's no longer referred to as the thing it was originally referred to. Now it's just computer, and there's nothing more to it. So something happened there that I somehow missed, but now at least like that's not something that I need to worry about. I've heard of there's other like weird sexualization stuff with the robots that I will potentially get to later.
Yeah, because I've been seeing shots of like it's like those twin robot women that have no faces because all they need are the big boobs, right? Like that's all they are in the game.
Well, apparently, because one dude put that side by side with other PlayStation like heroines and made this comparison, and I was like, dude, they're robots.
Yeah,
that says more about you than them.
Yeah. But like in terms of gameplay, it's fun. Pretty good shooting. The melee combat is surprisingly good. I like the powers. I've been playing it on computer. All of the keyboard controls are a little bit weird. Like using your power is V, which like you want to be using that a lot, and it's just a bit odd.
Is there something different tied to F?
I think F is the interact, but E is like nothing. So
could throw it on there.
Yeah. But so far it's just kind of been like, oh, I'm pursuing this scientist, and kind of after I got out of like the main intro sequence where all the robots go crazy, where I got into this secret bunker lab, it's just been a whole bunch of very video gamey fetch quest kind of stuff. Like I get to a room where there's a giant laser gate. It's like, oh no, to get through the laser gate, you need to get these 4 canisters filled up, and you fill them up in each of these 4 different rooms. And like one of the rooms is where they have all of like the energy goop that powers the robots. So there's like a puzzle with that. And the other room is very hot, and that's the thermal lab. And so you need to do stuff to cool it down. And then there's another room that is like the biochemistry room, where all of the humans have been infected by these weird bat things, and they've got like plant-like heads, very clicker-like. And they're kind of like zombies shambling towards you. So take those out. And it's just a very video gamey ass video game.
Yeah, like my impression of this game, just I haven't played it, it's just discourse, right? Just based on that, is it feels very like what if you were not a gamer in the mid 2000s and thought of the most derogatory idea of a male power fantasy for a video game, it would kind of be this. That's the vibe I get out of it.
So far, I'm not sure that I would say that there's much male power fantasy, but maybe it's just like if you were to take all of like the sexism that you hear about and just throw that sexism into it, it's like I don't feel powerful in this world. The fact that more robots have assaulted me than anything else is kind of like I just feel like a cog in the world. But yeah, like the weird chauvinism, I don't know. I definitely get where you're coming from with that. It's weird. I'm gonna keep playing a bit more of it, checking out how it is, if it continues to be very bland video gaminess for gaminess sake. I do agree it definitely feels like an early 2000s game, like that kind of quintessential story FPS for like the PS3 or the 360.
Yeah, just
It's also
very
been
like
interesting seeing both like the difference in our opinions versus it having a very positive rating on Steam with 9,000 people rating it.
I mean, it's definitely found its audience.
Yeah, it's because like I think everybody in Slack who has played it largely had the same reaction as Sam did, like score wise, which does not align at all with Steam reviews.
Can I ask, Stretch, have you gotten to the scene where they say the Spanish Inquisition? Because Sam has been talking about it, and I don't
As far as
understand.
I don't believe that I have. There's definitely been some weird crispy critter comments or like other dialogue that's just like come out of nowhere. Um, I don't really. I don't. Not only do I not understand my character's place in the world, I don't think that I understand what my character's personality is, because of how very serious military it will very quickly flip to calling someone a crispy critter or some other weird term. I've not heard the Spanish Inquisition line yet. Maybe that will be my check mark of like, I will wait until I hear this line and then I will decide if I want to keep playing or not.
Fair. Because I haven't even heard people talk about like, oh, the ending is worth it or anything. Like there hasn't really been much discourse about where the story goes. It's pretty consistently just like, yeah, the writing in this is really either bad or weird. It's one of those two, sometimes both.
It's like the level of like cringe of trying to be funny, but just trying to like shotgun method pepper one-off jokes and lines instead of creating a voice for any of the characters.
So yeah,
but it's on Game Pass, so I didn't buy it.
Yeah, it's free asterisk, right?
Yes.
I've got it downloaded as well. I was going to play a little bit this afternoon.
Does it being on Game Pass kind of lend itself further to the communist ideal?
Is Game Pass communism? Let's discuss.
Take that scene from The Last of Us at the same time.
Yeah.
Well, it's not communism. Yes, it is. We're a commune.
Yeah.
What we do.
That was such a good line.
Yeah. Well, that's Atomic Heart. If you've been enjoying it, I'm glad you're having fun. I'm glad you're having fun with the writing in it. It seems real weird from the outside looking in. Well, let's start going inside looking out now, much like the PSVR2.
We're about to jack in.
Inside out tracking. It's the new PlayStation VR machine. Otton, you got yours in the mail a day before me because I only got the charging station that day, which was pretty cool. 10 out of 10 would play with it again.
Yes. My charging station also pretty rad. I would recommend it.
Yes. But yes, PSVR2. How are you feeling? Because this is like your first VR, right?
First VR. It is very cool. I think one of its biggest selling points is how seamlessly easy it is to use and to set up. It's literally plug it in and ta-da, like
just a little bit of setup, but yeah.
And that's you're regular going through a menu, and I think there was a very small like firmware thing or some update to do, and then I had it going in 10 minutes.
Yeah, I found it really neat how it just like it scans the room around you. You just have to look around. You're still keeping.
Yeah, that's pretty rad. Yeah, like how you set up the play area so it knows, where you can and can't go, where you should and shouldn't go, so you don't run into stuff. You're just looking around with the headset because it's got cameras built into it. And it works super well. I haven't had any problems with it like fucking up and not knowing it's been dead on every time when I've like run up against the wall of the virtual wall I've set up. It is very cool, very comfortable, easy to use, looks good.
It is pretty comfy. I was kind of surprised, and because like I've done 2 3-hour sessions so far, and like it hasn't been too like fatiguing or anything.
No, it's amazing how lightweight it is too. It's like nothing.
I mean, I think still after those sessions, like I think my neck started to get sore because I think you're just naturally kind of counterbalancing a thing on your face. The only tracking issue I've run into, and this might just be like where I live, but like the sun hits my living room in a way where I think the lighting of the sun when it's like reflecting off the TV fucks with the tracking. So I have to keep the blinds on or the blinds closed.
That makes it, because I think it is pretty heavily influenced by the light. Like when you first set it up, it says, hey, set up your room and you're like how the light's going to be when you play this, because it bases it off of that.
Right. So like when I had the blinds open, specifically my right controller was just like not moving correctly, which was
bummer.
interesting. Yeah.
They know that a gamer's best environments is in pitch dark.
Yes.
You put it on and they recommend, hey, maybe you can like set this up in your mother's basement or
just go to
in a dark hovel.
That's
yeah.
Right. I mean, the haptic stuff's been pretty neat actually on it. Like when the headset will move also and vibrate and do things. Which sounds weird and gimmicky, but it works actually. Like weirdly.
Head vibration.
Yeah, head vibrates. The two controllers vibrate. So
yep. The controller's got all the stuff that DualSense does, the triggers and all that.
I think those triggers. Does it just track the rest of your fingers or just what you're doing with?
Well, I noticed it only, at least in Call of the Mountain, it only tracks your first two fingers and your thumb. I haven't noticed it tracking my pinky or ring finger.
Yeah, it doesn't do all 5 fingers. I think it does your like the grip.
It does the important ones.
Yeah, all those will. Even like very minimally, like I noticed it in some games. Like I'm not like if I have my thumb and I'm just resting it on, let's say like what would it be the square and triangle on your left hand, and it's just touching it, not pressing it in. It will the handle the thumb will move in the game. Like it gets that sensitive to it.
Right. Yeah.
I find the controls really easy to use too. They're comfortable. I don't have a problem with them. It's a little weird at first to get because you have to split. Okay, you have X and O on one side and square and triangle on the other side.
That's very weird.
But you kind of get used to it, and like
it's actually pretty seamless.
Yeah, and you have to rewire your brain to play VR games differently than like
true
non-VR games anyway. So it all kind of feels seamless
once you get going.
Yeah. The only thing I've noticed that is a pain point, well, not even a pain point, it's just like occasionally annoying for me, is I do have big glasses, so like fitting them into the headset, it's like not the worst, but there are times where like it just gets a little bit uncomfortable.
Bummer.
On the sides.
What's crazy is, well, go ahead.
Yeah, it's more like it's pushing my glasses like into my nose bridge because like it's got to get so close.
Yeah.
Does it not have like the forward backward and there's just like not enough space?
It does have the forward backward, so I guess I could just like push it back a little more, but then like it creates a vignette effect around the sides of your vision, which
yeah.
I would really love to see a VR headset be able to do like your standard glasses test, like see the house and the balloon on the field, and like factor that in like a user profile. I think that would be really
pretty
neat
wild
if it could just like change, because the screens are right there, and it would just all be about changing that focal point or shifting the image to factor in for your own like prescription, or if you could even just like feed it your prescription,
that'd be crazy.
and if it could alter accordingly.
Like I've never wanted to get contacts. This is the first time where I'm like, maybe.
You know what's crazy is you mentioned that is that I get from what I was reading is that I don't have glasses, so I haven't had run into that, but I was a lot of people were saying this is one of the roomier headsets for them. It's actually pretty good for it by and large in comparison to most others. But I know that is a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I've played the Meta Quest 2 before, and like that one wasn't that bad either for the glasses. Like I'm not saying this is like awful. Like if you have glasses, you will be fine. I think it might just be some of the games I'm playing too. Like I've been playing Ragnarok, which is very just like energetic. Like you're hitting virtual drums to the beat. So I'm like definitely swaying my head a lot more. And I think that just might be like messing with the of the
slaps.
One thing that is nice about there's a lot of adjustment that you can make between the periscoping, and there's a little tracker to the distance between the two lenses. You can move those.
Oh yeah, like left and right.
Yeah, because I have found like if you adjust your headset or whatever, like your nose, you gotta itch your nose or something like that. Like you do have to make sure to put it in that same spot because it's the focus will be all fucked.
Yeah,
otherwise,
and it'll hurt your eye. Yeah.
But I haven't had a problem with it like moving when I'm playing something though, and like, oh shit, no, I can't. I have to adjust it back to where it was because you can get it to where it's pretty snug and not uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think it was only for Ragnarok just because of how much I was moving. With Call of the Mountain, not as much.
Well, we'll talk. You get to a point where you're going to be moving a lot more.
Okay. Well, yeah. Let's talk about Call of the Mountain then. That's like the premiere, the tech demo, if you will.
The app, the killer app.
Yeah.
Yes, it's what Sony wants the killer app to be. Call of the Mountain. You are further in it than me. How are you enjoying this?
It's fun.
What's the story in relation to like the rest of the universe? Are you at Aloy or
no?
Okay.
You play as Reyes?
Yeah, something like that. Who sounds weirdly sometimes like Keanu Reeves. Every once in a while, I'm like, is that Keanu?
Yes. I thought it was Keanu too. It's not,
but every once in a while, I'm like, damn, he's channeling Keanu big time.
You just go, whoa.
Yeah.
Kind of though, yeah.
If we played a clip, you'd be like, that's not Keanu.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much you care about Horizon lore, but you basically play as a Karja guy who the Karja are like a tribe that everybody fucking hates because they're all about warring and like all that matters to them is physical strength. So everybody's like, yeah, they kind of fucking suck because they just want to fight you all the time. Like we don't like them that much. And you play as one of them that gets captured, and your brother has defected from the Karja and is working with back in the Sun Kingdom from the original game. You're back in you haven't gone west yet. This is before Aloy goes west is when this takes place. So before the second game. And he goes off to do a thing and doesn't return. And if you want to win your freedom because you've been captured as a dirty Karja tribal person, it's not that racist. That doesn't go that way. But you have to go find your brother and other people. Essentially, I'm sure there's more shit will start happening at some point. Like it'll become a bigger deal of something. You find something out, but
family fetch quest TM,
more or less.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say I'm only 2 levels in, so I don't have much of the story. I wouldn't say I'm like super invested in the story yet. I think I'm just more interested in the VR-ness of it all and the gameplay of it and all that.
I had a question for you. So for the movement, are you swinging your arms or are you doing it the old
swinging my arms because they give you 2 options. It's swing your arms or use the left stick, kind of more traditionally.
Weirdly, like it feels super weird, and like picturing yourself just sitting there moving your arms up and down is really funny. But it becomes very natural at some point. To me, it did anyway.
Yeah,
felt kind of just normal.
I mean, are you playing sitting or standing?
Standing.
Yeah, same. So when you're standing, like there were times where I was swinging my arms and also like trying to step with it, like not actually moving forward, but like just walking in
shifting
place,
your weight.
Worked out pretty well.
Yeah, and it really works. It's surprisingly, I wouldn't say completely seamless, but like,
but it feels natural. Like it's very intuitive. I think it opens really cool. It gives you basically your own little Disneyland ride on a canoe as the various machines around you are starting to fuck shit up. Yeah.
From like that opening trailer or that first trailer they showed off.
It's where like the long neck is stepping over you and shit.
It's the Jurassic Park theme is playing for some reason.
Kind of, yeah.
It was really cool though. Like if it's part of it, I know it's to dazzle you with how cool it looks and because it does look really nice, and within the headset it looks really nice.
It felt like a Disney park, like a Disney theme ride.
Very beginning definitely did. And that's what I was telling like my parents. I was like, Dad, like your mom, like you might just sit and watch this part because you probably think it's pretty fucking cool. Like, they don't play games, but
gives you the tech demo.
Yes, absolutely.
Like up until the boat sinks, maybe then.
Then shit starts going down. But
can I ask how do you feel about the climbing?
I dig it. I think it could reduce it some. So there's a lot of climbing in it, and it's a lot of reaching up to grab shit and move around and think. I don't know. I think I could see why someone would be like, I don't want to do this. This is boring. But it's very like, I don't know. It's kind of zen to me a little bit. You're just going through the thing. I kind of enjoy doing it. And you're looking around, like, and you can just you freely move your head around and look at shit below you and around. I don't know. I've liked it.
Yeah,
have you had any vertigo feelings yet?
No.
Yes.
I haven't. I could see why someone would, because there's time you look and it's really fucking far down.
Yeah. Anytime there's climbing, it definitely.
I can
has
believe this would be a problem.
Yeah,
that's how sword and sorcery kind of messed me up.
Like the climbing can definitely fuck you up because there's like one climb on the second level. It's like one of the legendary climbs or whatever. So you're like really high up, and like you can go look down and see where you started, and you're like, fuck me, I started there. You know, and I climbed that much. Or there's like one where you're like in a traditional video game, it'd be like there's a very thin plank and you're trying to walk along it and keep your balance. And the game doesn't have a mechanic where it's like keep your balance, but I think just naturally I kind of felt like, oh shit, I gotta be careful here, you know, because like it just makes you feel more immersed in it.
It does. That's one thing I do like about the climbing is that there's a great spatial awareness of stuff that's going around, because it's not simply like I'm climbing a rock face. I'm just like a ladder. I'm not just doing that. Like there could be something way over here. I got to go grab this vine or whatever to then pull myself over here. Like it's very 3D all around you. It's not like super simply just doing this the whole time.
Yeah.
It's pretty neat. I thought it was pretty cool.
And there were times where I even wanted to like just feel myself being more immersed in it, where like if I was hanging on a vine, because you could totally just like pull it up so you're like chin or like not chin, you're like your chest height, and it's like okay, sure, I'm sure there's some people who like have the core strength and arm strength to just continuously do that and shimmy over a vine, but then I like just naturally started putting my arms up as if I were like hanging off the vine instead. I don't know, that felt kind of interesting to do that. Yeah,
it's been neat.
VR is so fucking cool.
It is. I'm super pumped with how well this is working. And if you have vertigo problems, it'll only get worse for you because things get wild with the climbing.
Perfect. I mean, it's Call of the Mountain, right?
You're making just like leap of faith jumps with those pickaxes you build these pickaxes to like stick into the wall, and you're having to hold them and fucking stick in. You'll slide down and then climb your way up the wall. And there's these big jumps where you're falling for a minute and until you can grab something. Same with that. And there's eventually you get it's like a grapple hook gun that you pull yourself and it'll swing, and you have to swing yourself and then grab a rope and stuff like that midair. It's really
could see that fucking some people up.
Definitely good. It's really cool though. It's really neat. I'm sure there's more stuff. We're both of us are pretty early on in it. I'm sure there's more mechanics that'll get added into that.
I want to ask, how do you feel about the combat, the arrows, the bow?
Shooting the bow is really cool. Works pretty well. It's pretty fun. And I guess I have not tried it without so one of the big things that I guess we didn't mention with PSVR2 is it's got the eye tracking that actually works pretty well. Like if you're looking in a menu, it'll track where your eyes are going, and you can select that thing without having to like move your head at all. And so part of with Call of the Mountain is they have like aim assist that is set up with the eye tracking. So like maybe your hand movements aren't quite there, but it knows what you're looking at, and it'll do some aim assist with that. I haven't tried it with that off, so maybe I fucking suck, but it works pretty well.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
Yeah. It is a lot of fun to just kind of, because you like it's when you're just walking around, you don't have the bow in your hand, you just bring either hand up like behind your shoulder and hold the trigger to pull out the bow, which like that feels pretty cool. Not gonna lie, just like
and you could turn it off too with but that's how you pull your arrows out too and put them in.
Yeah, you have to bring up your other hand to like pull it off your shoulder. Yeah, it feels pretty nice to just kind of use the bow and arrow. I know there are a lot of other VR games that have used it, because I think that's just one of the more inherently like motion based mechanics that you can just easily translate into VR. So
it's I think combat. So I think you've really only fought the I always forget the name of the fucking birds.
The Glint Hawks.
Glint Hawks, yeah.
It's
all right. It's a lot of like you're shooting, and then you have these movements, like a short little dodge and then a big dodge, and it's based on how you move your hands
and hold what buttons you're holding.
And it's pretty basic right there. It kind of feels a little on rails because you're in this small little platform and you're just moving back and left and right, essentially dodging their shit and shooting at them.
Yeah, you can't move freely.
Yeah, it's not easy. It took a while. I was like, fuck, it's taking a long fucking time to kill these bastards. And like you have the stuff like from the game where you have the like fire arrows and lightning arrows, and so you can swap those out. It's like if you flip the bow on its side and select the different kind of arrow.
Right, and you have to craft the arrows yourself too by like putting the things together. Yeah,
it's really it's not a big thing, but it's just another neat little interactive thing where you're putting the canister here and the arrowhead and the flight and stuff on it.
Yeah, I think I found myself with because there's just something about VR that brings out the childishness in me, where it's like I want to break the game if I can. So like there's a scene in the beginning where you're captured, right? Like after the first mission, and that's where the Sun King kind of, blackmails you into doing stuff for him before you find your brother. Yeah. And while they're lecturing you or talking about what do we do with this guy, you're just standing there. You can't move, but you can like move your head around and look around, and you can move your hands. And so at first I noticed that when you like look at different characters, sometimes they'll like stop what they're doing and look at you, which I feel like that was weird because like we naturally as humans do that. Like we can sense when people are looking at us and we turn to look back at them, right? So I was like, that was cool. But then my favorite part is you can slap the NPCs kind of while they're talking.
I thought you were gonna bring that up, or just put your hand, like finger in their face, and they're like, "What the fuck?
Yeah,
like, get away!" Like
they back up. They if the Sun King was like talking to Aloy, and he's like, eyes locked on her, like eye contact, full discussion, and then I put my hand near his face, and he looks at my hand instead. It's just really funny to do that. Like they're having a serious discussion, and you're just like waving your arms around like a fucking dumbass.
What the fuck's wrong with this guy?
It's endlessly fun to like just pick up shit and throw it. Like I don't need that anymore. Get the fuck out of here. And like, I don't need you.
Yeah, like in the first two levels, they just like there's maracas and drums and like tambourines. Just all sorts of fun stuff like that. I think one thing I did is this kind of blew me away in terms of tech, but so there's a bunch of plates and vases and like a cup, right? Like a pretty big cup. You can grab all those, smash them, right? So I smashed the plates, it broke into pieces, and you can't pick up the pieces, but you can use another plate to sweep them. And I swept them into the cup, and it would like actually go into the cup and stay there, and like you can swing the cup around and like you hear it jingling, which is like that's kind of neat.
There's neat stuff going on. Yeah. I will say, so with that, if you were not super interested in that combat, I know at some point you're going to fight a Thunderjaw. I think that's how the game ends, and that's got to be fucking wild. I don't know what's going to happen there. But,
lots of dodging.
Yeah. So at this later one, you fight 3 Scrappers, and those are the like tigery guys that have the lasers on the back of they can shoot a laser beam off their back. Fuck that, man. Jesus. Like you're in this big area, you can run around and you have to dodge, and there's 3 of them at once, and they're shooting lasers, and how you can dodge them by like bending back and down. So you're doing that a bunch, moving around, dodge, and you have to grab the thing. Like it was afterwards, it was like, fucking hey, that's a workout. Like you have to move a ton at all times because there's so much stuff happening to you. Because it's not simply just dodging; it's moving your body at the same time to then do the quick dodge movement where you're swinging your arms, bend backwards, go grab another fucking arrow, shoot the guy. You're constantly grabbing arrows because you have to shoot him so many fucking times. Yeah.
It sounds fun, honestly.
It was good. Yeah. Afterwards, I was like, damn, that was a lot. I don't know. That was only like the second real combat encounter. What the fuck is next?
If you like that type of movement and gameplay, Pistol Whip is pretty dope. Like literally dodging bullets, smacking them out of the way. It looks like it's coming to PSVR2, so definitely check that out.
It is. Yeah, no, I think Call of the Mountain is I wouldn't say you have to drop everything, go out and buy a PS5 and PSVR2 to play it so far. Like I don't think it's that killer app-y. No. But if you're already getting the PSVR2, I think it is a no-brainer.
Absolutely get it.
Call of the Mountain, yeah.
And I know that like some complaints with VR titles that they're a little hollow, like they do the one thing and that they do the one thing, like that's it. This has got a lot of video gaming stuff where you can get a little sidetracked. There's little collectible things. There's things to off the beaten path stuff to do and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, and you've also been playing another game, right? For review.
played a couple of games. Couple. One I'll talk about very briefly. They have that NFL quarterback game.
Oh, yeah.
Fucking dog shit.
Oh.
It's pretty bad. Like I'm playing, I'm like, boy, I wish someone with a real budget would make this. Even as bad as it is, it's pretty fucking rad. Like,
is that like you're a quarterback? Like you actually?
Yeah, like you're in the huddle and then you're hiking the ball, and like a part of me is like, fuck, how do these quarterbacks see fucking anything? Because like a huge linemen are standing in front of me, I can't fucking see where to throw the fucking thing, and like, but like when a pass connects, it is one of the coolest fucking feelings. So when it works out. So I just wish someone would make a better game because it's pretty bad. Like the animations are bad. People are running weird places. Like it runs real slow, and there's just a lot of not good things happening with it. But hopefully someone does a cooler one in the future because the idea is so cool. It is very fun.
Get EA to do it. Just add it on to Madden.
It's pretty rad.
Madden 24 VR.
Yeah, like this one, it's like you're not looking at rosters. The stats it tracks are basically yours and other quarterbacks. There's not like ratings for whatever. If you know a certain player to play this way, don't expect them to do that in this game. It's basically they're just there as a number and a name.
Yeah, right.
Kind of thing. But
they have put skins around a polygon.
I say all that. I am going to
first
continue to play it, and I cannot wait to win the Super Bowl with it.
Fair. And then you had, what was it, the Clockwinder?
I have the Last Clockwinder, and that might be one of the coolest games I've played, period, let alone VR. It has, so I was thinking about how to describe it, and I think some of the coolest moments in games, it gives you a similar feeling to this if like, I don't know, if people enjoy Magic or whatever, like as a kid, maybe, or even now, where you see someone pull off something, you're like, how the fuck did they do that? Or whatever. And there's a
Magic,
feeling,
not Magic the Gathering magic.
Yeah. No, like magicians. And like the coolest stuff is the stuff that happens outside of the magician's hands, like they do it in an audience member's hand, or like they seem outside of it, and you're extra like, what in the fuck? Like there's a certain magic to it. That feeling of like, that's amazing is Last Clockwinder. You're not pulling off magic stuff, but it was the closest. Like, yeah, it feels that amazing when something works just right.
This looks really cool.
There's a lot of like little eureka moments that you have that are my favorite things in any medium, reading or whatever. When you piece something together, or when it's just you fucking around and you figure something out, it's all about that. So there's a lot of fluff about the story. Like I don't know what the deal is with this clock and what the deal is with this tree. Like there's needed to be a clockwinder there forever because I guess someone's got to wind the fucking clock. And some lady's like, fuck that. I need to automate this shit. Why does someone need to be here all the time? This sucks. And so you get the ability to just create these little automatons that mimic the movement you just made. Like you press a button and then whatever movements you make, it will then make those movements. And
so it's kind of like puzzly.
Yeah, so it's puzzly, and you place them down in somewhere. But like, I'm still pretty early in it. But like the early one is you're wanting to grow these fruits that grow really quickly and throw them into this bucket thing that you then collect them, and that's used kind of as a currency. But like, there's a board on the side that'll say you're producing 15 a minute or whatever, and you can try to get that to be a lot higher. And you have different goals to make it quicker. But what's really neat about it is they're placed around the room, and you set the plant in, you make a little automaton, and like the way I've done, I'm sure people can do other things. I'm just fucking hucking these things in that bucket that you have to put them in. And so at some point though, you'll have like 6 or 7 that you're like, some are pretty close, some are far away. So you have to keep trying as you're trying to mimic this animation that this thing's got to grab the fruit, then pull it back, and then just heave it into the thing. And I don't know why, like, doing that over and over again was so fun. Like, you're constantly making these shots, and then you get to just stand back and look at all these little robots doing your movement and just chucking these fruits into this bucket. But it gets a lot more complicated than that. And like later on, you have to you run out of the ability, like these seeds you find to plant those plants. You have to make more seeds, and you have to like have one that basically build molecules. Like you take one fruit, this thing that sticks them together, stick it to another one, and stick a third one, and it has to pass that off to another one. That, to me, I just have them fucking heave it into this smasher thing, and then I have to have another one that smashes it and then produces the seeds, and then another one that catches the seeds and tosses the seeds in the bucket.
Sounds
so
like
you're
in VR.
You're elaborately putting these things together, but it's all physics stuff where you're like chucking stuff to yourself and like having to time that correctly and time it to when he's smashing it correctly so that the thing goes in to smash them and it's not missing the hole. And then you have to make sure you can catch the seeds out of midair and then have them throw over. It's, I don't know. When it pieces together, it's beautiful.
I was going to say the same thing as you, Rob. It sounds like Factorio, but instead of like you building conveyor belts and stuff, like you are the conveyor belt.
Yep.
Yes. Your history is the conveyor belt.
Yeah. Like I'm looking at the Steam page and seeing some of like the different movements that are being made quite simply. Knowing that you can like let stuff go and throw stuff, that kind of like extra level of physics sounds really cool.
It's really neat, and it gets. I know it gets more
good.
complicated because eventually I've recently unlocked the ability to like the loop that they're on for the animation. I think it could be 1, 2, or 3 seconds or something. Like you can change that, so that will factor into how fast they produce something or how fast they need to grab something. Is it going too quickly or whatever? Like it seems like it can get very complicated. And the idea is that you're producing this currency, which are basically these seeds and fruits and whatever, and those are used to unlock more areas you go to. Although you don't really go to areas, it's weird. You have a globe in there, and you unlock the ability to go somewhere. But what it does is the center of the room that just goes away, and a new part of the room comes up. Just
like it's like an escape room, but
yeah. So you never really leave your area. You just bring new shit to you.
Yeah, that's a fun VR trick.
Yeah. That sounds like something that could be pretty interesting to play with.
It's fantastic so far.
Yeah.
It's really cool.
Yeah, this looks really cool.
Yeah. I think I might grab it.
And bought.
Sounds like PSVR2 is a pretty solid launch.
I think so. I think a lot of people have been criticizing like the whole it can't back compat, which I can understand as someone who owned a VR1 and is jumping into VR2. But I think, for our use case scenario, this is like the first VR machines both of us are owning. It's pretty solid launch, I think. There's a lot of variety.
Of stuff there.
Yeah, like I've been playing Ragnarok. I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I'm going to have a review up early this week. You can check out if you're curious, but it is pretty fucking cool. It's metal rock music rhythm game. You just hit some drums to the beat. It's very rock band drums-y, but in VR. So that is like perfect like rhythm game. I mean, like, well, we don't have Beat Saber, right? Play this instead. It works pretty well. I think there's another one out there like Synth Riders, which is another VR rhythm game that I want to check out as well. And then of course,
that one didn't click with me as much as Pistol Whip and Beat Saber.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I was bummed that Moss Book 1's not out yet for VR2. You can play Book 2,
but not Book 1.
But not Book 1 that I saw on the.
I hope they bring Carnage Chronicles to it for you, like true dungeon crawler.
Yeah, there's lots of stuff that I guess it'll all depend on how successful and these people feel it's worth the money to do it. But,
yeah, because there's quite a few things in the pipeline in terms of like the next 3 months or so. Like there are things coming to it, but it's kind of hard to see what is this going to look like in a year. We'll find out.
I think of a lot of the games that have done well on Steam can easily port over. That's
the big one is they got to get Half-Life Alyx at some point. That is, if there is a killer app for VR, that is it. And that's just they got to figure out something to get it on there.
Yeah,
for sure.
That seems like a weird thing to be locked, and especially because it uses so much of the index specific controller stuff.
Yeah.
It's like it's perfect for PlayStation VR2, but like I know that like I have a Vive and I've got like the old Vive controllers and I could play Alex, but I know that that's not like the way that you want to play Alex.
The optimal quote unquote way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is
the index controllers are very different in terms of what they can feel like finger wise. It's pretty cool.
So like PSVR2 would be a great place for Alex to go next if they want to keep pushing it. So hopefully.
I'd hope so.
Yeah, that's up to Valve at this point, right?
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. But I think that is a wrap on this week's episode of the TechRaptor podcast. We hope you enjoyed. And if you did, please hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube and let us know in the comments down below, either on YouTube or on our site. Have you picked up a PSVR2? And if so, what games are you playing or looking forward to getting? Just let us know down below. If you want more content from us, we're always publishing news, reviews, features, etc. at techraptor.net. But if you want more of this show, we will be back in your feed next Monday. Stretch?
I will say as well, if you are one of the people who listen to our podcast as soon as it comes out on the day that it releases, the 27th, Christian and I will be live on YouTube chatting about Pokemon, watching the Pokemon Presents as it kicks off at 9 a.m. EST. So that's for the very early adopters. If you missed that, then it will be up on the YouTube to check out.
Yeah, that is 6 a.m. Pacific. Jesus.
Well, I will not be watching.
I'm so excited, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you
I will be Pokemon sleeping.
I will see you guys next Monday.